Assalamualaikum and have a nice day everyone. So today our group will present about neurophysiology, low motivation, go away. This is my group member Fatino Nadira, Inku Yasmin Shahira, Ainun Najiha, Fatimah Zahara and Minor Akila. Today we have three objectives. The first one is to describe the meaning of physiology based on neurophysiology. Second, to explain the disturbance of human body which is low motivation and how it returns to normal. Third, to appreciate the regulation of low motivation in human body which is neurophysiology.
Hi, I'm Fatima. So, motivation is the force that causes us to act on our desire or fears. It is a driving force that makes people feel convinced to do something. You know what? Our brain relies on dopamine to regulate our motivation. What is dopamine? Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays a key role in our motivational levels. It is known for making us feel good and improving our moods. So the human brain recognizes what it likes and what makes it happy. Let's say, for example, cheesecake. If you are not eating cheesecake at that moment, your brain will still release the dopamine to inspire you to grab cheesecake. In our brains, there's an area that's called amygdala, which is very crucial to motivation because when it's stimulated, it sends a signal to the prefrontal cortex that stores information for our memories and help us to process information for us to respond or ignore. When something happens that we enjoy, like eating cheesecake just now, our brain takes note. Later on, our hippocampus retrieves our long-term memories. And when our brains want to boost the level of dopamine, it reminds us that cheesecake that we love, which is use the hippocampus hub. What causes motivation in the brain besides just dopamine being released? There are three factors, which is the physiological state, environment, and past. These factors influence the amygdala, but we want to talk about dopamine. The dopamine signal moves in between neuron and receptor inside the synapse of our brain, allows the signal to keep moving. And for our motivation, the dopamine pathway is really crucial. It is called as mesolytic pathway, which located on top of our brain. Dopamine also travels through the nucleus accumbens, and as soon there's an abundance of dopamine, it lets our brain know that something good will happen. Specifically, it means a reward. When dopamine flux moves through the reward system, it teaches our brain to connect this brain activity to pleasure. It keeps us in pursuit of more dopamine in each part of our brain and then induce motivation. We know that if we work, we will have a rush of neurotransmitter.
And I will be continuing our presentation with the disturbance that led to low motivation. First and foremost, the disturbance that led to low motivation is the damage to the basal ganglia. Basal ganglia is a deep brain structure. It uses neurotransmitter dopamine to signal reward and motivation. When the basal ganglia is damaged, the patient will become insensitive toward rewards, and it leads to pathological apathy. Next, we have the overwhelmed feeling with the task given that led to low motivation. This is because if a person has a lot of tasks to do and need to be submitted in the short period of time, they'll be struggling with where to begin, which one to be done first, and which one is more important. So when the overwhelmed feeling takes place, the neurons in the central point of amygdala is not stimulated. This will lead to the deficiency of dopamine. As we all know, the dopamine is important towards oneself in order to feel motivated in doing something. So if the dopamine's level is lower, then the motivation level also becomes lower. The third disturbance that leads to low motivation is the burnout feeling of oneself. This is when someone has emotional and physical fatigue because of their workload. The results of the burnout feeling is lower productivity that leads to lower quality of products, and the feeling of helplessness or frustration, reduced mental and physical health of the person, and also lower their motivation to do their work. Last but not least, the disturbance that leads to low motivation is the less reward anticipation. This is because when less reward anticipation occurs to oneself, the dopamine secretion will become lesser. That leads to smaller positive RPE, which is the reward prediction error encoded by dopaminergic neurons. The positive RPE means that the reward better than expected to oneself. The repeated use of rewards also will lower the positive RPE. For an example, a teacher uses the same amount of rewards or present to children when they answer the question. This will make the children become less motivated when the present are the same as before. Slow down, relax. Every problem has its own solution, including how to encounter the disturbance. So first of all, if someone has a lot of things to do and a lot of things needs to be submitted, they need to break down the task into smaller parts first. This will help them to get things done in a small block and more achievable items at the end of the time. And they will be less overwhelming, and then they will reduce the anxiety and apathy towards themselves. Besides, take times when doing work. This is because every person has his own pace when doing work. We cannot follow everyone else. And this is important to prevent burnout feeling from occurring, and also to produce a good quality of work at the end of the time, and also to maintain our motivation level. Last but not least, choosing one reward over another can encounter the disturbance of less reward anticipation. This will also reduce the possibility of addictive behavior. In the meantime, stimulation of neurons in the central nucleus of amygdala plus the receiving particular reward will increase the magnitude of reward motivation and also reduce the range of reward selection. This will increase the level of effort to get the reward and will increase our motivational level. That's all from me. Thank you.
How brain will regulate it so that we can feel motivated again. First, experience will trigger neurons in the brain cell like prefrontal cortex, which is air traffic control, hippocampus, which is memory center, and the third one, anterior cingulate cortex, which is behavior trigger to send chemicals like dopamine and serotonin to other neurons in other regions of brain. Second, repeated experience will create different pathways. So like those dopamine and serotonin will help turn that same experience into thought and memory in the hippocampus. Okay, so now we will move to the next slide. For the third one, this pathway will help to create powerful association with what we do and what we think by the amygdala, which is emotion triggers, that will control our behavior by prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate cortex. And the last one is we will motivated to repeat all those good experiences so to make us feel good and avoid us to feel down by the nucleus accumbens, which is reward anticipator. Nucleus accumbens will evaluate stimuli that produce wanting and liking response, so that we can feel motivated again. So that's from me. We will go to the next slide.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Motivation is the small part of ourselves that drives us to act. As we learn how our body functions in physiology, the physiology of the brain explains how motivation affects us, particularly in our daily lives. The more we learn about this topic, the more we should appreciate what we have right now. How the body regulates itself to preserve optimal function demonstrates our vast mind. Anyone can experience a lack of motivation, but it becomes unhealthy when it persists and is not addressed. The study of physiology enables us to comprehend how the human body deals with lack of ambition, allowing us to comprehend and wonder at the majesty of our vast power. Without our plan for the structure of the human body, we would not even be able to live a peaceful life, and Allah is ultimately responsible for the meaningful lives we currently had from Allah. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ, which means indeed we have created humankind in constant struggle. From this passage of the Quran, it is evident that Allah tested everyone, which means that everyone faces the same difficulty as others. Therefore, blaming Allah for our adversity is inappropriate. Rather, we should thank Him, since He is always there to assist us. In the end, low motivation is not a significant issue as long as we are being grateful and depending on Allah, who is omnipotent and kind toward each of His servants. Thank you.
So, we're moving on to our very end of our slide for this topic, which is the conclusion. To sum up everything, we have seen that at the beginning, they explained everything about how the different parts of the brain contribute in motivating us to stay happy. They also mentioned about how the brain regulates the various moods in triggering neurons to release the specific hormones. And the last one, which is the most important part, is how we deal with everything that Allah has created for us. He mentioned in the Quran, Surah At-Tin, verse 4, A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim, Laqad khalaqnal insana fi ahsani taqwim, which means, indeed, we created man in the best form. In this ayah, it is clear that no one is left behind. They are beautiful in their own way. Before I end our presentation, I just want to say stay motivated, the wheel keeps on rolling, be grateful as always for everything that happened, and don't ever give up because no life is perfect and sadness and happiness are always there for us. So let patience and gratitude be the perfection for all of the feelings. That's all from us. Thank you for listening.
This is our reference.